Today, we're diving into a voyage that didn't just put a new route on the map, it literally redrew the entire balance of global power. We're talking about Vasco da Gama's journey to India. And trust me, this wasn't just some sailing trip. It was an event that completely changed the course of history. You see, before all this happened, the world's economy, especially for Europe, was basically being held hostage. Geography and a powerful monopoly had a stranglehold on everything. And the key to blowing it all wide open? It would eventually come down to one single, absolutely staggering number.
So that's the big question, right? This was the question of the 15th century. Because when just a couple of powers control access to the most valuable stuff on the planet, you don't just ask them nicely to share. You have to find another way. And this is the story of finding that other way.
Okay, so what was this huge monopoly all about? It was about spices. And I know that sounds kind of simple, but things like pepper, cloves, and cinnamon were the absolute height of luxury back then. They were crucial for making food last and even for medicine. The problem? The land routes from Asia were locked down by Muslim and Venetian merchants, which meant by the time those spices got to, say, London, the price was just astronomical.
So this wasn't just some casual desire like, oh, a sea route would be nice. No. This was a flat-out, desperate, strategic race. The country that could find a direct sea path to India wouldn't just get rich, it would shatter the old world order and basically control the future of trade. The stakes just could not have been higher.
And that's where our guy Vasco da Gama enters the picture. The King of Portugal, Manuel I, gives him a mission. Get to India by sea, period. It was an insane gamble, basically in order to sail right off the edge of the known map, but it wasn't a total shot in the dark.
See, the Portuguese had a key piece of the puzzle. Just 10 years before, another explorer, Bartolomeu Dias, had already done the hard part. He'd proven you could actually sail around the bottom of Africa. So da Gama's job was to take that incredible discovery and pull off the next audacious step, cross the completely uncharted Indian Ocean.
Now this is where we see the sheer genius of their navigation. Instead of playing it safe and just hugging the African coast, da Gama did something that sounds totally crazy. He swung his ships way out into the middle of the Atlantic. This move, the Volta do Mar, let him catch these super strong winds that basically slingshotted him down towards the Cape. It was brilliant, counterintuitive, and it became the gold standard for sailing for centuries to come.
Let's just pause for a second and let the scale of this journey sink in. They leave in July of 1497. It takes them more than 10 months just to get to India. The entire round trip took over 2 years. In the 15th century, that's just an unbelievable feat of human endurance.
So, after rounding Africa, finding a local pilot to help them navigate, da Gama finally makes it across the Indian Ocean. And in May 1498, his ships drop anchor in Calicut, India. They had done it. They had reached the source, the very heart of the spice trade.
But here's where the story takes a bit of a cringy turn. Da Gama shows up and he brings out what he thinks are impressive European trade goods. You know, some basic cloth, some wash basins, little trinkets. The local rulers who are used to trading in gold and silk and actual luxury, they were not impressed. At all. The whole commercial side of the mission was, frankly, a total flop.
But here's the thing, and this is so important. The cheap trinkets didn't matter one bit. Da Gama wasn't there to make a quick buck on one trip. He was there to prove that the route existed. And in that goal, the mission was a massive, world-altering success. He now had the treasure map to the world's riches. So when da Gama finally limps back into Portugal in 1499, it looks like a disaster. He'd lost half his men, 2 of his 4 ships were gone. By all accounts, it was a catastrophe. But the tiny bit of cargo he did manage to bring back was about to change everything.
The real proof of his success wasn't just a new line on a map. No, it was in that cargo. And it all came down to that one single number that would go on to launch an entire empire.
And there it is, 60 times. The spices da Gama brought back were worth 60 times the entire cost of the expedition. I mean, just think about that. This wasn't just profit. This was proof. It was proof that the sea route wasn't just possible. It was the key to unimaginable wealth. This is the number that changed the world. And that number, that 60x, it literally flipped the world on its head. This slide shows it all. Before, power was centered in the Mediterranean. The Venetians and Arabs ran the show. After, boom, power shifts to the Atlantic. The old monopolies are shattered, and Portugal kicks off the age of seaborne empires. The game had completely changed. But, the story doesn't just end there with fame and fortune. Da Gama's legacy, like so many from this era, is, well, it's complicated. He cracked the world wide open, sure, but the way it was opened left some really deep and lasting scars.
And you really have to hold both sides of this in your head at the same time. On one hand, you have this navigator of almost unbelievable genius and courage. His voyage broke a global trade monopoly and reshaped the world economy. But on the other hand, especially on his later voyages, he used cannons and just brutal force to cement Portuguese power, setting a really grim pattern for the colonialism that would follow.
So where does that leave us? Was Vasco da Gama's voyage the ultimate hero's journey, an incredible story of discovery against all odds? Or was it the opening shot in a centuries-long, often violent story of global empire? The thing is, the answer is probably both. And that's a tension, a complexity that still shapes the world we live in today.